Saturn going into Aries. What does it mean for Saturn to change signs? Saturn is a planet that has about a 29-year cycle, so it spends about 2.5 years in a sign on average. This time, once it goes into Aries, it will retrograde back, but eventually it will be in there until April of 2028, I think. So, so that, yes, just under 3 years from now, but we do have more time where Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces. So on average. Okay, anyway, Saturn going into Aries. You may recall from just under 2 months ago, Neptune went into Aries. Neptune has a much longer term cycle than Saturn. So Neptune going into Aries happens less frequently. So it spends 10 to 15 years in a sign. It will be in Aries. It's going to go retrograde later this year, but then it will stay in Aries until 2038, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that's what my memory. I can't always keep all the details straight because I'm trying to convey the bigger picture of the energies and what it means and what the significance of it is. So we had Neptune going into Aries. Again, beginning of the zodiac, new beginnings, starting things, new seeds being fertilized, new projects showing up, new forms. And Saturn in particular has to do with form and how energies crystallize or take shape or come into form. So interestingly enough, Neptune is about energy, right? It's about this bigger picture that transcends the physical world. It's about spirit and spirituality and some of these sort of intangible things that are deeply felt, that are known in our senses, right? Our intuition. They are known because they're felt. So Saturn is very much known because you can touch it. Saturn is about form, it's about structure, it's about how things take shape. So for us human beings or any uh, animal or I guess beings on the planet that have a body, it is how we incarnate. Right? So Saturn is the shape of who you are throughout your life. And it is how you move and change and evolve and grow within that shape, within this lifetime. So Saturn speaks to our mortality. It reminds us that we are not infinite beings. We are limited to however many years or however much time we end up getting in this life. And so Saturn reminds us that we are limited by our mortality. And the gift of that is that we get this pressure to learn and grow within our lifetime. If we had just infinite time and everything was abundant and easy all the time, we might not feel that pressure to get it right, to learn, to grow, to get better at things, to recognize that we are limited in the resources that we have and the time that we have. And so we want to do the best we can with it. Ideally, right? That is the lesson of Saturn, is to do the best you can with what you have. And so Saturn going into Aries is going to be similar but different to Neptune going into Aries. So as I mentioned, Neptune has a much longer cycle. It's been a much longer time since it went into Aries, right? So it was the 1860s, I believe, was the last time it went into Aries. So the energy of Neptune going into Aries has this really big significance, right? It's over many generations of, experience here on Earth. So So it is starting something new that is big, big picture. It is starting something new, the beginning of something that is really helping us to change who we are, change our experience based on a much bigger picture of how we understand ourselves and our reality and our lives. And so our spirituality, our philosophies, our ways of understanding things, our mythology, our connection to what gives that sense of meaning to our lives. So bigger picture principles and reset, restart, new direction in terms of that bigger picture of meaning. So with Aries, we have that fire, that spark, and it's putting a spark into something that feels meaningful, that we want to activate by moving it in a forward moving direction, by taking action, by propelling something forward with that Aries fiery energy. So Saturn goes into Aries, and Neptune, I think I said, will be in Aries until the late 2030s. So Saturn, which will be in Aries until 2028, so a shorter time and also a shorter cycle. So the last time Neptune went into Aries was about 29 years ago. So shorter term, but also big picture still, right? So with Saturn, we are beginning a new incarnation. So with Neptune, we're beginning a new, bigger picture of meaning, of mythology, of connection to something that feels transcendent, bigger than life. Saturn, on the other hand, going into Aries means we are beginning a new form, a new structure, a new something taking shape, having an incarnation of sorts. So something in our lives is also being born in that very physical sense, where it becomes tangible, where we begin to create something that has a shape, a form that we can perceive with our senses, describe and feel physically or experience physically. So Saturn going into Aries is a new beginning, but it is a different kind of new beginning. Now, what you may have noticed is that both Saturn and Neptune are now in Aries. So right. So Neptune March 30th went into Aries, Saturn now on May 24th. If you're watching this before May 24th, then it hasn't gone into Aries yet, but it will on May 24th, 2025. And so then we have both Saturn and Neptune in Aries. There's a lot that we can sort of explore in terms of the symbolism of these two planets and these energies and the energy of Aries and new beginnings and that experience of new directions, new forms, new things taking shape. So first of all, Saturn and Neptune are coming together. And so that is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which will technically not be exact until 2026, but they get so close. Saturn gets so close to Neptune before they both go retrograde. And that happens in mid-July of 2025. So they get within a fraction of a degree of each other, which is very, very close, but not exact. And then they both go retrograde and they start to move apart again, and they both head back toward Pisces, going back into Pisces later in the year. So while they're both in Aries, they're both very close. They are both activating this energy of a spark of new life, new form, something emerging, something taking shape, but again, at the very beginning. So Saturn and Neptune coming together, right? So Saturn is structure, it's form, it is our limitations where we can't go beyond whatever it is that is creating a boundary or a limit in our lives, because it's physical. It's like that tangible experience of something is stopping me, or something has a shape that I can understand and touch and describe to someone and have it make sense, all of those things. And then Neptune is about not that. Neptune is about transcendence, right? It is about blowing away the whole idea of form to say there is no form without energy. And behind form, behind structure, there is always an energy pattern that is bigger and has a bigger quality or existence than the tangible form itself. So that can come across in many, many, many ways. But as we think about this combination, there are some ways to think about it. One is that Saturn is the structure or the container that the Neptune energy can come through. So just like how you need a glass to hold your water, without a glass, you put your water in your hand, and what happens? It's a big mess. So Saturn gives you that structure. It gives you the container. Saturn is also the structure that allows the bigger picture of the qualities of Neptune to come through. So if Saturn is an instrument, a musical instrument, it is the vehicle, it is the container that allows that bigger picture of the beauty and the divine qualities and the transcendent experience of the music to come through. So it gives a container, it gives a vehicle, it gives a way of holding something. Saturn can also represent our disciplines, our practice. So if we do a practice of meditation daily, for example, we can open ourselves to the qualities of connection with the universe, with the divine, with a bigger picture of something that we may not be able to really fully describe. But it's through that practice that creates a container. So Saturn is a container, and it can create shapes and forms that the divine can come through. So we are planting seeds of something that can hold new structures, that can hold a bigger picture of meaning. We also can have the watery energy of Neptune dissolve the structures of Saturn. So like the way that salt dissolves in water and it loses its shape, it loses its form. The way that if you are driving along a country road in some thick, thick fog, and all of a sudden you can't see the stripes on the road, you can't see the signs on the side, you can't see where the guardrail is. So it takes away that sense of ability to orient yourself. What is the structure that helps you navigate? Neptune can bring in that fog that takes away all of your normal ways that you orient yourself. So it can be disorienting. It can dissolve the structure. It can take it away from your ability to sort of lean on or rely on things you're used to or attached to working with or holding on to. So Neptune can do both. And in that process where it dissolves or obscures or brings in a fog that makes it hard for us to see our way or find our ways of orienting ourselves, in the process of taking that away, taking away the road signs and the guardrails and the directional stripes, when those go away, it means that we become open to a new way of guiding ourselves, new information. So in your life, when you have like a Neptune transit, like a Neptune transit of your sun or your moon, it can feel really confusing, right? It's like it's taking away, it's obscuring, it's bringing in a fog of confusion where things that you used to rely on don't work anymore. But at the same time, once you let go of your need to have those things to orient yourself, you will find, and the lesson of Neptune is that there is something bigger guiding you, and it helps you to connect with that bigger picture of wisdom sometimes if your ordinary ways of orienting yourself are taken away or obscured. So it leaves confusion, and the way to respond to that confusion is not to try to cling and bring back what gives you comfort, but to let go, to surrender, to feel the feelings. Sometimes there's some grief or some sadness, or other feelings that might come up. And in that process, the feelings can kind of help to clear and cleanse away the old attachments, opening you to that bigger picture of what is speaking to you in that bigger picture of wisdom. So, new ways forward. So, Neptune is the dream, right? And our dreams, our hopes for the future can be given a container with the Neptune and Saturn energies coming together. And again, this will not fully be exact until 2026, but we start to get that taste of it. We really start to connect with what is possible. So Saturn creates a container for the dream. In the process, we may have to let go of the comforts of the past that we used to use to feel safe, to orient ourselves, to rely on in terms of our understanding of how things work, right? Our sense of control. So we've got to let go of some of that sense of control. And in the process, we can open to the new form that is emerging that can hold the bigger picture of the dream, of what we can imagine, of what our hearts want. And again, remember, there is a new meaning being birthed through this process. So it's not that meaning is new, it's that we are awakening to meaning in a way that is new and bigger. And it might be a remembering. It could be remembering something that we used to know, and even generationally that we used to know and maybe have forgotten, but really reconnecting with that bigger picture of meaning, of principles, of what we care about, what our hearts want, what really is important in that bigger picture. So the Saturn and Neptune energies coming together can create the container for the dream. We can also have Saturn coming in as a reminder of reality, right? So Saturn might constrict. It might bring in a constricting energy that confines some of the places where we have gotten lost, some of the delusion, the confusion, the ways that we have lost our way. Saturn might, right? It could help us to come back. It could create that container that says, here is the way to move forward, and helping us to find that place of guidance, get our feet on the ground, and figure out what to do. So that is a possibility. So you've got Saturn influencing Neptune, Neptune influencing Saturn, both in Aries, both in that place of new beginnings. Saturn bringing the constraint, or maybe bringing the qualities of Neptune back down to Earth, possibly with some difficult reminders. Remember, Saturn is about our limitations, our limits, our boundaries. And so we might find that we get reined back in some certain ways. We could find that we have a connection to a bigger picture of meaning and truth, and we are reinvigorated with that spark of Aries, with that fire to put things in place, to take action, to move things forward. So with all these bigger picture energies, we want to think about how this can be part of our own process, So thinking about it for yourself and what that might look like in terms of your work, your creative work, any projects you're working on, any relationship or family work you're doing, any generational work, right? Any of the things you are doing that help to move things in a positive direction for yourself. So you can think of this time as a time to connect with what you really imagine, with what your dream really is, right? Connect with that bigger picture of what your heart wants. Don't worry about how, just connect with why, right? Connect, and because there's something opening about that bigger picture of meaning that wants to take shape. So connect with the why. And then as you connect with the why, pay attention to what is emerging, what is showing up in terms of opportunities in your life, new directions, um, new ways that you might think about things, new ideas, new connections. I don't know, right? So bringing in that sense of, willingness to try new things, take some risks. Opportunities that invite you to move in new directions could be beneficial, especially if it feels like it taps into your big why, your your bigger picture of meaning. If your heart says yes, this is a good time to take those risks, to move in that direction. And I'm not I never advocate for just completely burning bridges and blowing away, whatever has kept you safe in the past. But this is really about stretching into new possibilities, moving into that new zone of what you are becoming, really letting yourself make your choices based on the future, your dream, your vision, your hopes. How would you act in your day-to-day life if you knew that the future you want was taking shape now? Because what if you were to assume that the future you want is taking shape? How do you act? How do you make the little micro decisions of your day-to-day life? How do you show up? How do you talk to yourself? How do you take care of yourself on a daily basis if that is true? So you are opening to that bigger picture of possibility, and quite possibly you are in the process of creating that future, that dream, by your very micro decisions in your day-to-day life, your ways of showing up for yourself. There is no wrong. There is no failure. There is only, how can I do it now? How can I do it next? Loving yourself for the mistakes of the past, loving yourself for the mistakes you might be making right now, but you're trying, right? You're stepping into that possibility. You have that sense of open-heartedness that is really appropriate right now, to trust your heart and what your heart wants and to let that guide you. But with your feet on the ground, right? Be real, be honest with yourself, because that will help you to contain that bigger picture and work on creating the container that helps it have its cup, right? The cup for the bigger picture of the dream needs a cup to hold it. So you're in the process of creating that cup. All right. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing, creating space for me to share with you, and for all the good work that you do to be yourself, to take care of yourself, and to continue on your own journey of healing and self-care. I'm Marina Ormes. You can learn more about me and book a reading with me to understand your own chart, how this Saturn-Neptune energy is showing up in your chart, what directions might be awakening for you in particular. Because when I look at your natal chart, we can explore what that looks like for you and your life and the specifics of your own chart and how it shows up for you. So astrologyheals.com, and I'm working on my member site, which the link is in the description for this video. Check that out. Thanks so much for being here and subscribing to this YouTube channel. I am here every day with astrology for unshakable self-care. Bye for now.